Back again for another community breakdown. Who have we got this week, Slevin?
We're going to go over Sephora this week.
Founded in 1970, over 2,700 stores globally across 35 countries, and we've helped them in the Brazilian market.
Yeah, in Brazil with Anastasia Beverly Hills.
Yeah, ABH, we help them with their distribution strategy across, Brazil and LATAM.
By selecting some impactful brand ambassadors, which is going to link into some of the points we're going to speak about later.
Last year, Sephora did over $16 billion in revenue, which is absolutely significant. It's no surprise that they're at the forefront of community building.
They really are, and you wouldn't necessarily think it from Sephora, absolutely. But most of their community building isn't so obvious to see from online, their paid strategies, and what a lot of people, hyper fixate on, which is how to get the best click rate optimization or conversion rate optimization.
So you've dissected their community, you've done a deep dive into it, and you've done a write-up about it. What have you discovered? What things would you like to highlight today?
Well, they've got a vast community, and it probably hasn't done them justice spending a week analysing them. But the things that I pulled out this week were their authentic brand ambassadors, their engaging community through status online, away from social media, and also mixing online and in person with brand activations in person as well.
So when we talk about authentic brand ambassadors, what makes an authentic brand ambassador compared to a non-authentic brand ambassador?
Well, I spoke about in the newsletter how there's a quote that I really like from Benjamin Graham, that in the short term, the market is a voting machine, but in the long term, it's a weighing machine. And I think you can compare this to brands' communication with its audience. So obviously, we've seen a lot of success with user-generated content, and that's because that content made by people is generally trusted more than content owned and created by brands. It's seen as more authentic. One of the things that we've got now is there are multiple different platforms where you can go and buy UGC from. And then if you go on those creators' pages, some of them are just doing back-to-back loads of different UGC with different brands, different deals, which entirely loses its authenticity. So for brands going through that methodology and that process of gaining user-generated content to use on their social medias or paid ads, I like to say in the short term it's a voting machine. They're grabbing quick, fast attention, trying to convert from it. That is very different to building authentic brand ambassadors that have shared goals, interests, and values with their online community. They're posting about and engaging with the community day after day over a long period of time, building that trust.
So just to dive into that a little bit deeper, brand ambassadors, they're paying for, clearly, yeah? So they have a partnership with them. What would be the difference, and how would you distinguish someone who is paid just to do influencer marketing compared to a brand ambassador? Why are the brand ambassadors they're selecting authentic?
That's a really good question. I mean, the longer answer is around how, and similar to what we said on Gymshark, where a lot of creators previously, I think they're more influencers because they weren't necessarily creating so much. The platforms were follower platforms, and influencers had a large following and controlled the attention. Loads of brands started using them for awareness for their products, but it was so inauthentic because they were changing brands so fast. I'd say really authentic ambassadors, they have shared values and interests with the brand and with their audience and with the community. And that makes them more authentic. And what Sephora do really well is they have a program that they launched in 2019 called the Sephora Squad. So you have to apply to be a brand ambassador for Sephora. There's a process that they go through. They look primarily through the person, not just their following, which I think is very interesting. And that's because their investment in that person is not just giving them cash, giving them money, but they train them, they do collaborations, and they invest into them as a creator.
So it's almost like a partnership where they're growing the creator because they realize that if they grow them and add value to them, it will be returned, 10x fold.
Well, I think that's a really good point and a good way of looking at it. It's much closer to a partnership than a simple exchange of goods, right? And it shows that the way that Sephora are looking at them and what they're valuing in who they partner with if they were purely looking at people that could just generate views, they'd be looking at those vanity metrics, wouldn't they? Like the views, the engagement rate, following, etc. Instead, what they're looking for is who really represents the brand well, who is going to resonate well with the community. They also want diversity. They want to bring in a diverse audience. They're looking for very diverse, very different ambassadors as well. So they're prioritizing that over what they can create.
So Sephora have over 340 brands distributed across their 2,700 stores. These brands must be all targeting slightly different customers, whether they're targeting, Gen Z girls or mothers or millennials or even different types of communities. So the brand ambassadors that Sephora bring in and they work with, they all have to be slightly different, I imagine, or on different niches. Are there any crossover values or crossover things these ambassadors have that they all share?
I think from looking at some of their ambassadors and what they were speaking about with their program, it's clear to see that the crossover they have is that they just want to cater for all people. They want people to be able to express themselves. They want to cater for all sorts of different people, regardless of style, regardless of what they want to look like, where they've come from, their ethnicity. They want to cater for all. I think that speaks to them prioritizing the diversity of their ambassadors, but also to the fact that they've got 340 different brands that they're distributing and advertising through Sephora. They want to cater their ambassadors for everyone, and they want to cater with their products for everyone.
Perfect. So let's just move on from this slightly and let's touch base on how they implement gamification to drive loyalty and rewards. I think they are so far ahead in this compared to other people. But how is a non-tech, non-gaming brand actually utilizing gamification to captivate their audience?
Well, you've got to be careful there. They haven't literally made a game, but they certainly have gone into those gamification features.
They understand it.
So they absolutely understand how important gamification is when it comes to engagement in a community space, and also status, which I think links in with it. So to put this into perspective, Sephora have built the Beauty Insider community, which has 6 million members and over 3 million posts at the moment. I think any brand would be happy with anywhere like half, nowhere near as many. You'd be significantly happy with that level of attention and engagement in your owned space. So it's away from social media. It's accessible online to anybody as well. You can create an account and join.
6 million people, taking them away from social media to centralize them seems like an awful lot. What are their call to actions? How are they kind of migrating people from social media into their centralized community?
Well, that's a really good question. And I think this speaks again to the level of high intent of those 6 million users. So one of the ways that they're funneling people into that community is after they make product purchases. If you join the community, then you are given like rewards or points, depending on how much you spend online and order online, towards earning badges and titles, which can be displayed on there. So that's one way that they're encouraging people to come into the community, to come and engage in there. Also, I think it's unique valuing in that there is an awful lot of positivity on there. Regardless of who you are, there is something for you on there. It reminds me a bit of either Facebook groups or Reddit with different subreddits, and users can navigate between the community itself. Mm-hmm. There's, I think, over 60,000 or 70,000 different groups, and you can join a group and engage with the members, and it's like the topic of discussion in there. So it might be a fragrances group, might be a group for middle-aged women, or it might be a group for people of certain ethnicities. Regardless of your look and regardless of your style, there is a group for you where they are having conversations, they're sharing positivity, they're sharing tips, which products they like. This offers a lot of value for Sephora because not only is it allowing their customers to come together, share which products they like, which encourages them to try different styles and therefore purchase more products, but it's also giving them immediate insight into what they do and don't like, which allows them to stay a disruptive company within the beauty industry.
So it allows their customers to kind of communicate and participate with other like-minded individuals to get new ideas and learn new things about kind of beauty, makeup and cosmetic routines.
Exactly, and those are absolutely some of the benefits that you can get from it. Now, what fuels that and what really incentivizes people to engage with no cost to Sephora is some of those gamification features that I've spoken about. Okay. Some people might be familiar with School, an online community platform where you are given essentially points for if you post something, depending on how many replies or likes you get on that post within a group or within a thread, you gain points. And they've introduced something very similar, if not identical to that. Now, the points in itself don't have any tangible value necessarily until you introduce something that people are interested in getting. So for example, they've introduced two different things. One is to earn different badges, and the other one is different titles. People have profiles on the Beauty Insider community where they can, be personal, add personal information if they want, say who they are, but also it displays what badges, what titles they've earned through those points. And those points come from how much people interact with what they've contributed towards the community, which encourages people to add things that are beneficial to that community.
Their members are earning points by doing promotional and marketing activities for Sephora, which they're then rewarded for, where they can buy badges and they can use it for buying status within the community.
Yeah, well, that's what I'm getting onto, the status point, absolutely. It reminds me of when I used to play Call of Duty when I was younger, right?
Yes, me too.
You're not necessarily using them to buy, it's not necessarily a currency. You're just unlocking progress towards earning different badges and titles, similar to...
Just like in Call of Duty, when you had prestiges or you could unlock skins and then other people would know you're a certain level.
Exactly.
I did a post on this at Jiu Jitsu about how the different belts kind of mean different status in the gym. You start as a white belt, then you go to blue, then purple, then brown, and then black. And then when you see someone with that belt, you automatically kind of put them in a hierarchy and how good and how developed they are within it. So I guess there's a similar kind of feel to that status within Sephora's community.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, some people are definitely just going on there because they enjoy it. They not everyone's engaging, not everyone's seeking those points or trying to go through it like that. Some people just enjoy being on there. But some people absolutely, I'm sure, are being incentivized to level up, to gain more status. They want to be seen and they want to feel a sense of belonging. And part of that comes with it, a title and being able to express who they are on there. One of the other things that I think we should quickly mention, which they also use on this platform, is a reward system. I think I briefly mentioned this before, where depending on how many online purchases somebody makes through their store, depends on how many points they earn as well when it comes to unlocking the titles for the community. So you can have some people's profiles that are absolutely stacked with loads of different titles.
Do you believe by Sephora implementing a gamification loyalty program, this allows customers to ultimately stay longer with the brand, like increasing their lifetime value?
I don't, of course, have the data to show how many people are actively participating, but what I can say from looking at it is it's obviously a very engaged community. I think what that does is encourage participation. I think it encourages people to add value, what the community perceives as value, and the conversations that is around is information, very personalized information that's beneficial to users. I think that is definitely going to encourage people to try different looks, to try different products. It's also going to give Sephora the information to be able to keep producing new consumer products that are going to be able to add value to that market.
When I think of Sephora, I don't necessarily straight away think of community building without diving into them. But again, I'm not their target customer, right?
Yeah, I'd be surprised if you did, yeah.
But what other brands do you think could learn from Sephora, add in this reward system, this gamification? Not everyone can do this, but which type of brands or which type of clients would be looking at something like that?
Well, you're definitely looking at brands that are doing consumer goods that are going to have repeat purchases and also very personalized if you're talking about this gamification. So beauty is an obvious answer as well. I think also maybe health in general, so health supplements, maybe protein supplements. Also communities that share information are going to benefit from this. So this could be, I'm thinking things like personal trainers or dietitians, nutritionists, etc., where people can come online and they're incentivized somehow to share information, share what works for them. It has to be something personalized if you're copying something like Sephora. I think the reward system, many people can copy that. Again, you need repeat purchases, you need incentivization to be able to keep engaging. So it's typically those types of companies.
I think as well, looking at the human psychology of something, the more time you invest into something, the less likely you are to kind of steer away from it. If you invest more time into the Sephora community, you participate in kind of their point system where you can earn badges and kind of names, or what's it called, titles within titles or badges within the Sephora ecosystem, you're less likely to look at a different retailer because you've put time and effort into growing your status within that community. I think just like I always use jiu-jitsu as an example, but just like a jiu-jitsu academy, once you've spent time and get to know the community and the members within it, you're unlikely then to really move unless something is making you truly unhappy.
Well, it gives it that community feel, that sense of belonging. You make friends, you build relationships, and also you're creating superfans. They're creating superfans, people that love the brand.
One of the things I love to talk about when referencing community is bringing and blending together the real world and the online world. Yeah, Sephora do this incredibly well. What have you learnt from them, and how are they doing this and capitalizing on it?
So each year they have the Sephora event, which is the biggest annual beauty event that they hold. In 2024, it will take place in Atlanta, Paris, Shanghai, and Rio. If you want to go and see.
I'd like to go and see Shanghai again. Shanghai would be a very interesting market because I do think China are quite far ahead of the Western world on social commerce, and I think we probably could learn a lot from them in the community. I think how they're dealing with UGC, affiliate marketing, building communities, and how that links into commerce is fascinating.
Well, they were definitely innovators and understanding the trends in social media, the attention going on social media. A lot of social media going towards shorts. They have incredibly good algorithms, of course, with TikTok very advanced in getting the right content to the right people. Of course, the problem with that is it's allowed somebody like Temu to be able to take over the space, or at least sell a significant amount online through people just immediately purchasing products based on user-generated content. But it's poor quality, and people's trust of Temu has gone down. People's trust of purchasing through UGC might sometimes be questionable as well.
But China's philosophy of social commerce is fascinating. They've made using TikTok, which started as Musical.ly, making content completely accessible to anyone. So it doesn't matter who you are, where you come from. If you have a smartphone, you can absolutely make great content using TikTok. And now the step above, they've launched TikTok Shop, which is just under or just over a year old now in the US, and it's already the 4th biggest marketplace in the whole country.
Well, there's no denying the size of it, of course. Again, it's a very good tool to capture that attention, and also they're very good at enabling brands to integrate their products. They're very good at allowing the people that are the most skilled at capturing attention to easily create content and sell through TikTok Shop. What brands just, of course, have to be careful of doing this is, are they choosing influencers, or are they choosing rather brand ambassadors that are going to build that long-term community feel, long-term branding and trust if they want the long-term success. Short-term is a completely different story.
Let's go back to Sephora and Sephora, their event. Tell me a little bit more about it. What is it? How does it work? Who goes?
So it's in-person events. They have masterclasses. They have typically 50 brand activations. We were speaking about how they've got a diverse product range. They've got high-achieving community members that they show off there as well. So again, they're trying to encourage people that go to that event. They've got high interest, high intent with Sephora. They're showing off their community members, giving them status again, and then also surprise appearances from industry experts. And I think what they do incredibly well with this event is remain disruptive in the market and remain disruptive to their competitors. They're able to get immediate feedback on new products they want to launch or existing ones, which allows them to adapt to what customers want really fast.
So with these in-person events, they're obviously incredibly impactful. If other brands want to do the same, what have you learned from Sephora, and how can in-person events actually help you grow on social media? How do you encourage your audience to share?
That's a great question. And actually, when I was on LinkedIn this week, I saw there was a much smaller wine company that were, in my opinion, doing a very successful in-person event. So they were just at a local fair. They had invited some of their customers, some of their fans, through social media to come and have a look, but also they met new people there. They had free wine tasting, testing the product, but also what I found really interesting was speaking about the story of the founders, the story of the company, some of their values and the direction they wanted to head in. which resonated with different people. They enabled them to get immediate feedback on products. They were able to educate some of their audience and also incentivize them around that experience to maybe post it on social media. So this can be done at a very small scale to gain insights on your product, to quickly adapt your offerings or your product to potential customers as well and grow your audience, and then constantly change and iterate what you're offering to stay ahead of your competitors.
Interestingly, you mentioned they use the events to talk about their values. This is what brings people together. This is why people participate and join communities. Gymshark, we covered last week, they post their values on their website. Sephora have taken the opportunity to do in-person events and then effectively broadcast these values to the community. Let's go back to the question of last week. When and where is it good to showcase your values to your community, and how do you do that?
I think my answer last week was, I think I spoke about Alex Hormozy and him saying, show, don't sell.
Yes.
I still don't think my opinion on that has changed. If it's about authentically building that trust, then I think that if you're shoving it in people's faces, I think it makes it seem like there's a reason behind showing those values. If you're saying, we really care about this, we really care about that, these are our values. Sometimes I don't think that comes across too authentic. What Sephora are incredibly good at is making sure they understand their values, they understand what they want to achieve with their community, and everything they do centers around this. They have a very sophisticated Sephora Squad program. They take their time picking out brand ambassadors that they believe share their values. And then they have people authentically being themselves, speaking to their community, training them up to create content, all in line with who they actually are.
The Sephora Squad, it comes from the global company of Sephora that do over $16 billion a year. They understand the importance of gamification within building loyalty systems and reward systems for their members, blending together URL and IRL.
I haven't heard that one before, actually.
And authentic brand ambassadors. How do you build a squad?
That's a great question. So I think this centers around a belief we have that people trust people more than brands, but they trust community even more. So if people are looking to do this themselves, then I'd say you need to find ambassadors that live and breathe your brand. They need to be promoting your brand for the long term to build that trust. Then what they've done is they've got their community engaging with each other, whether it's through content trends, challenges on social media, or pulled away to their centralized location, the Beauty Insider community. Get your members contributing. And they found ways through gamification to get their members doing it authentically and by themselves. And then, as you said, blend online with impactful in-person events that allow you to educate people in person. They allow you to understand how people are resonating with your brand and with your products. But remember, in the short term, the market is a voting machine, but in the long term, it's a weighing machine.